Gen X, Gen Z, Gen Alpha, millennials, everybody's talking about generations these days. I want to break it down for you as it relates to marketing, because that's really where these terms all come from. I'm Professor Einstein. I'm a former TV and advertising executive turned marketing critic. First thing I'm going to say is there is very little agreement about the exact dates for any of these generations. I'm just going to show you two examples. We could do more, but I'll show you two. This is from a research firm, and they say that boomers are 1946 to 1954 because they include in here Generation Jones, which is 1955 to 1964 because younger boomers weren't drafted into the World War, and so there's the feeling that they really are different from the baby boom. Gen X, 1965 to 1980, millennials, 81 to 96, and Gen Z, 97 and onward. Gen Alpha is considered usually 2010. If you look at website thoughtco.com, which is more of a research site rather than a marketing site, they put the baby boom at 1943 to 1960. Gen X is 61 to 81. Millennials is 82 to 2005, and Gen Z is 2006 to the present. While we may not agree with those later dates, let me explain to you where they come from. Gen X came from David Koplin's book of the same name. And then people got lazy after that. And by 1993, Advertising Age was calling the subsequent generation Gen Y. But because of everything that was going on at the turn of the century, they became known as the millennials because it was expected that there would be all kinds of upheaval with the turn of the century. Remember Y2K, and we thought that all the computers would stop working and we wouldn't be able to get any money out of the ATMs? Subsequent generations have multiple names, but it's been Gen Z and then Gen Alpha. I think the defining moment between Gen Y or millennials and Gen Z is September 11th and the ability to remember when that happened. But all of this gets down to marketing and how marketers want to be able to put groups of people together. Understanding what their spending capabilities are and also understanding what their media habits are. So you can see in this chart on the left, for example, the spending power by generation. So if you look at Gen Z, well, they may not be making as much money when this was taken, and this was several years ago. But as a generation, they have a lot of disposable income, and they aren't spending money on homes and cars and things, so they have extra money to spend. And of course, marketers want to know where people are spending time in terms of their media usage. TikTok is very much used by Gen Z and millennials and less used by those over baby boom, which is not surprising. So whether you're talking about Gen X or millennials or iGen or Gen Alpha, basically what you're doing is talking about a demographic group that marketers use in order to be able to sell us stuff. It's not really useful for us in our day-to-day, and I know people have been complaining that, they don't want to be labeled. You don't have to be labeled. It's not really useful for us.